The beauty world in 2026 is already kind of a lot, right? And some of it's exciting. The beauty world can also be a little bit overstimulating, right? There are more launches, more brands, more influencers, more makeup artists, more opinions than ever before. And yet somehow, trust feels lower, right? I see that all the time whenever I post like an ad or whenever I talk about something I like. It must be fake, you know, God forbid I should like something and talk about it. But I also get where people are coming from. Trust is low because a lot of brands and a lot of influencers haven't earned trust. So this video isn't going to be about me dragging anyone in particular, one person. It's more like, you know, just taking a breath from the world and asking, can we be a little bit better this year? If you're a brand, a founder, an influencer, a content creator, whatever you want to call yourself, or even just someone who's online and loves makeup, this is really about how the industry has evolved and where it's starting to trip over itself a little bit. Let's ease into it slightly. If you haven't been here before, my name is Robert Welsh. I'm a professional makeup artist of 20 years. It'll be 21 years this year. But now I mainly do content creation full time. It's a new venture for me. I say it's new, I've been doing it for 5-6 years. But my goal on social media, and has always been since my first video when I had like 100 subscribers, has been to kind of make a separation between the makeup industry and the influencer industry, and how both of those things are seen online and how they both work in real life. And that's not just one way of saying, oh, we do this in real life, so this isn't right. I want to talk about things I would love to see change throughout the social media and beauty industry this year. Things that I think are doable. I would love to know if you agree with me on these things down below and if there are things you would like to see change. And it kind of brings me on to my first thing. Recently, it's come to my mind and to my knowledge that it also works the other way around. There's a lot of professional makeup artists online. It's like, we don't do this at Fashion Week, or we don't do this whenever. It's like, okay, but that concept doesn't matter so much for a lot of people. Some people just want to do their makeup and go to work. You know what I mean? So now, having had worked in both industries for quite a long time and talking to people face to face, talking to them online, being hands-on with people, being not so hands-on with people, I consider that a huge benefit to me, right? And to people who listen to my advice and listen to what I have to say, because I feel like I can see from both points of view is why perhaps some information from professional makeup artists, and please don't come at me, professionals, I know we like to be like, but we're the professionals, might not always be useful for a lot of people, and why a lot of the online content that you see might not also be useful in a professional makeup artist's eyes. There's somewhere that meets in between. It does exist, and it's more about experience and skill and knowledge, right? What a professional makeup artist can do in 1 minute might take half an hour for somebody who isn't so skilled in professional makeup artistry. A professional makeup artist knows skin inside out. They can prep a whole face with just skincare, which is the way I like to do it. Somebody who isn't a professional makeup artist might need that cheat code of a primer. You know what I mean? So there's two sides of this beauty industry that both kind of need to like calm down and see it from other people's point of view, and not just be like, well, I know everything. I know this. I do this at Fashion Week. I do this backstage. I do this on Brides. It's like, relax. The second thing is, a common thing that influencers say, or content creators say, it's the same thing, is that a product, and even brands do it now, something changes your life. It's a small thing, but it's kind of telling, right? If you watch beauty content regularly, you'll notice that everything can be life-changing now. And I get why this happens, right? Extreme language online performs well. Emotion sells. If you start a video and it's like, this changed my life, versus this helped me out like quite a bit, you're gonna go for the intense one, right? And listen, as somebody whose life is beauty and has been since I was 16 years old, there are some aspects of beauty that can change your life, right? Maybe you find a good primer, maybe you find a good setting spray, maybe you find a good foundation, maybe you find a serum that you love and it has changed your life to a point where your foundation sits better. That is a life change for a lot of people, but let's not be so intense, you know? Algorithms love intensity. But from the consumer side, it's a little bit exhausting. And I know I'm an influencer, I know I'm a content creator, but I do consume too. I'm also a consumer, and I notice these things from other content creators and brands. And when every product is framed like it's like a revelation, people stop believing any of it. You start tuning out, right? You start assuming exaggeration, even when somebody's just like, yeah, I really like this product. You're like, oh, they're just exaggerating, when really liking something is actually something that really happens. And what's interesting is that calmer, more like grounded review do tend to regain trust a little bit more because of this fatigue. One of my favorite content creators on TikTok is someone called Honest Phoebe, and I really love her content because it's very normal. It is completely normal, but at the same time, it's not normal at all, because the way she does reviews is honest, that's her name. Matter of fact, not over dramatic. It's not like, guys, this is the worst shit ever. This is the best shit ever. It's very to the point. I like this. I didn't like this. She will honestly review something from a first impression, but she will still give something a go and later on down the line say like, this is the learning curve I had to do. It's very, very nice content to take in. I know that sounds really strange, but it's very mid-ground. You don't feel like she's pulling you one way or the other. And I think that content is very rare. I think it's very, very rare to see online now, because we have the over-dramatics. And I think I'm quite over-dramatic on the negative side of things. I think that's just my personality. Love life. But, you know, I'm very easy to annoy. I'm very easy to be quite dramatic to things. I will call someone stupid. I'll call them an idiot. I'll call them like, and then be like, oh, it wasn't that big a deal later on. You know, I'm always saying things. Whereas there are people that are extremely calm, and then there are people, and you know, and you can pick and choose what content you like to see online. There are different people in the world. We're not all going to agree. That's fact, right? But Phoebe does this in a way, and I'm using her in particular because she is this middle ground of reviewing and content that I would like to see a little bit more. That isn't saying there isn't space for the more dramatic, you know what I mean? That's entertainment for some people, but sometimes it's nice to be scrolling and be like, let's take a second, watch this review that's just straight up honest, straight up facts to this person who isn't a professional but also is good at makeup. You know what I mean? So that's what I would like to see a little bit more. You don't need to undersell products, you know what I mean? Just let them exist at their actual level of importance. Not everything has to save us. And one thing I would like to see from a consumer point of view is, just because somebody says something is good doesn't mean it's a lie. Just because somebody says something is bad from a certain brand doesn't mean that person hates the whole brand. I've done a whole video on how much I hated a collection from Fenty, but I love some of their other products. And I will still actively buy their other products. I bought this mist from them the other day. I tried it once and I liked it, but I haven't done like a proper test yet. So there are brands that I like but hate products from. You know what I mean? Everything can have a rational thinking method to it. Okay, let's talk about this one. Shade inclusivity. And I know for a fact there's going to be some people online that are going to be like, not every brand has to cater to every shade. It's like, okay, yeah, they don't, but okay. But why should they just cater to the middle, to the medium? That's what I'll ask you. Let me leave you with that. And I'll ask you again if you say it in the comments. Why does this still matter? I think it should be obvious, but let's talk about it anyway. I know some people feel tired of this conversation, like I just said, for a few reasons. For people with very deep skin tones or very fair skin tones that can't get their shade, in particular the people with deeper skin tones, when they ask to be included, people are like, not every brand has to. So it's tiring. You're getting the same answer over and over again. But the reason this keeps coming up is because it keeps happening. Brands that aren't inclusive just aren't. Then there's brands that try to be inclusive and do it really wrong and do it lazy. At this point, shade inclusivity isn't about education anymore, right? Brands know how to do this properly. They know how to do this properly, and the brands that don't have amazing case studies out there of people who do. So when launches still leave people out, it sends a very clear message that you weren't prioritized one bit. And what really frustrates consumers is the aftermath, right? The defensive responses that we're learning, we'll do better, we're just testing these, and then if it's good enough, then we'll give it to everyone else. Inclusivity isn't impressive. It isn't an impressive thing. If you have Korean brands doing what they can do to extend their shade ranges, having to actually actively research and do all this stuff, which brands should be doing, how can a brand that exists and is produced and made in the US, let's say, be missing the mark? And when brands miss the mark now, it doesn't spark dialogue, it just closes doors. It's like, I'm not interested. I'm just not interested. It's come to this point where if you don't think you need to make shades for people with deeper skin tones, why is that? Why is the mediums the basic, the beginning, the start? Ask yourself that. If you're saying brands don't need to cater for all skin tones, ask why. Why is the medium shades, the lighter shades, the basic, the number one? I want you to think of that on a deeper level before you answer. But also, let me take, again, emotion and empathy out of this. If you become my emotionless, empathyless businessman hat, I don't want to become a hat, put my hat on. If I am a brand and I'm trying to exist in this day and age, why would I want to seem non-inclusive? Why does that benefit people? People said it doesn't matter. And then we've seen brands like Euphoria disappear because of a whole deal with their foundations. They didn't include people, and when they decided to, they did it incredibly wrong. And people were like, it's fine, it's fine. No, your brand is gone. Your goodbye to that brand is gone. Moving on, because I could talk about that forever. Clean beauty. There have been brands who I love, and listen, I'm not going to hold it against them completely. There are brands who I really, really like who use the term clean beauty. But I feel like there's a conversation for people who believe in the term clean beauty and they're not ready to have this conversation, or they don't want to see the light of this conversation. Let's slow this down. Whew, 1 second. Whew. Clean beauty started with good intentions, right? Transparency, ingredient awareness, better formulations. And that's what I think are some brands when they're trying to do this clean beauty thing. Okay, so maybe your ingredients come from a better place. Maybe they're more sustainable. That's what I like to think. So say that. But somewhere along the way, it turned into fear marketing, fear mongering, whatever you want to call it. No, fear marketing, because it's marketing. Everything else became toxic and unsafe and bad for you. And that creates anxiety in shoppers, not empowerment, buying beauty, especially for younger consumers who don't yet have a context to separate marketing language from science. And especially in the world we're in, where someone can look something up on TikTok once or Facebook once and it becomes fact instead of doing their own research. So the issue with clean beauty for me isn't wanting safer products or products that have come from a certain place or certain ingredients. It's using vague language to imply danger without clarifying what makes your products clean and what makes someone else's products not clean. Calling things toxic, using those words incorrectly. People in 2026 are smarter than ever when it comes to the beauty industry. Not smart is the wrong word, more clued up. They know their shit. We have professional makeup artists online. We have doctors, dermatologists, product developers, cosmetic chemists, scientists, plastic surgeons. Everyone of everything is doing stuff online. We are a lot smarter and knowledgeable about some areas than we ever used to be. And that does annoy me. Sometimes people think they know everything because they've seen something once. But we want definitions, not buzzwords. We want to know what makes your product clean. We want to know the facts. We want facts now. We don't want clean. I haven't got any lip liner on. We don't want clean without an explanation. The word clean doesn't have a standard definition within the beauty industry. You can call clean whatever you want. I could sell you my urine and be like, it's clean. And you'd be like, why is it clean? Because it comes from a natural source. You know what I mean? It's not regulated at all. So a brand can use the word clean, but look into what their definition of clean is. Clean doesn't mean that everything else is going to hurt you. Let's talk about founders of brands. Founder-led brands are really powerful, especially online. They do some really good things. They feel personal, human, and this is something I talk about a lot. I love brands where you know the owners, you know who what their deal is, all this kind of stuff, because we buy products like we're buying from friends sometimes. But there is a trade-off, right? When your face and your personality are the brand, criticism of a product feels like criticism of you. I get that. I understand. But that's where things get a bit messy. Responding to feedback with defensiveness or framing critique as hate erodes trust fast. I've done some videos on brands that just don't listen. I'm gonna link them down below, and how much that can damage your brand. I love professionalism. I love good customer service because throughout my whole working life, that's all I've ever given, and that's all I would expect from myself. I love brands who are professional, who respond to criticism in a good way that isn't the brand feeling like they are being personally attacked. Some brand owners get online, and it is smaller indie brands, and I do love smaller indie brands. If you are going to put your brand out there, you need to realize that not everyone is going to like what you are selling. That's why we have so many options, right? Not everyone's going to like the same thing. That's not the only reason we have so many options, but that's one of the reasons. People like different mascaras. People like different foundations. People might not like your color palette. People might not like the art you've included on your work. People might not like the color story. That's fine. Different people exist. Different people have different preferences. Perhaps someone leaves a negative review, and this is where it goes wrong for me. You do not then send all your followers to then give you positive reviews and then hate this person who's giving you a negative review and do all this kind of stuff. You will remember I did a whole video about this whole situation with this brand and this content creator, Ella Kinkley, who the brand personally attacked her horrifically because she gave feedback that was honest and correct. And then it turned into this whole thing, it all went viral. If that brand had just taken that feedback and worked to fix it in a way that was professional, we're so sorry this happened, how can we make this up to you? Can we send you a package? Can we do this? It is better for people to see how you deal with criticism in a positive way than you completely going crazy and making your brand the center of attention for negative reasons. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is marketing to younger audiences without owning it and kind of denying it, right? If your brand lives on TikTok, uses Gen Z language, and features very, very young creators talking about the age of 11, you are marketing to young people. A lot of the time, that's not a problem. How you do it can be a problem. The problem is you're pretending you're not, because younger audiences are more impressionable, especially around beauty standards, right? And consumption. If they're your audience, responsibility comes with that. People, when you're younger, you want everything your friends have. You want everything people are showing online. You want everything. If you are going to market to younger audiences, whether it be with your packaging, whether it be with influencers you align yourself with, do things the right way. Don't call one of your lip glosses bitch lips, bad bitch energy, and giving it to a 9-year-old. You know what I mean? Okay. Oh, no, can I just touch on one more thing? Small businesses with big, not so small business resources, right? Using small business language when facing criticism, when it feels convenient, is disingenuous. Transparency builds trust. Cosplaying as relatable does not. Independent businesses aren't always small businesses, right? So let's remember, I'm just a small business. You got 10 million in the bank? Come on now. Okay, let me finish there. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is there anything you want to see change? Any language brands use, influencers use this year? Hope manifest it into real life. Let me know down below. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do go ahead and follow me over on Instagram where I post exclusive stuff. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please do give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.